On everyone, the Denver Broncos this year, will they be a actual contender? Now obviously they went and got Russell Wilson, and that was a huge move in the positive direction for the Denver Broncos. Russell Wilson was kind of just drowning with the Seattle Seahawks at this point, and was doing everything he could to kind of carry the load of that franchise. And so moving over to a team like the Denver Broncos that has aspirations of being a contender, they're not really in a rebuild, although they are a very young team. The hope is that Russell Wilson will be able to be that prime Russell Wilson and lead the charge of these Denver Broncos. My concern is, though, when it comes to these Denver Broncos, is the ridiculously stacked AFC. I mean, seriously, any one of these teams could be in the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, and I don't think anybody would be like, oh, that's shocking. I mean, they all are incredibly talented. They all are very stacked. They all have incredible offensive weaponry. And obviously the Kansas City Chiefs have just dominated that division for quite some time. But I wouldn't be shocked if another team was to take over the spotlight. Now, I did a video breaking down the Las Vegas Raiders. I'll link that video down in the description below. Go check it out after this video. But one of the big things that I talked about, and even brought up the Broncos during that video, is the Broncos' lack of talent in regards to experience. Now, they are a very talented team, don't get me wrong, but they are also very young. And you have teams like the Kansas City Chiefs that have been there, done that. The Raiders, although they haven't had a ton of playoff success as of late, they do have guys that have been in playoff experience, playoff moments, have led charge game-winning drives. Russell Wilson obviously has, but even then, he's pretty much the sole guy on this team other than like Melvin Gordon. But the Broncos have just a ridiculous amount of young guys that could really step up and take the next step with Russell Wilson. And you have seen in the NFL time and time again, the right quarterback, the right coach can really lead a charge in a team, regardless of the other talent around them. And Denver Broncos definitely have talent. I mean, you got Jerry Jeudy, which hopefully he can take the big step. Last year injuries were really an issue. Tim Patrick is out for the season, so that is definitely a serious blow, but I don't think it's one that's going to move the needle too heavily. You still have Cortland Sutton. Like I said, Jerry Jeudy should make a big step. You got a couple other really young quality receivers. You got Melvin Gordon, who I mentioned earlier, as your running back, and then Javonte Williams. He's another running back that I expect to put up some big numbers. Defensively, they should be pretty stout, but they're not like... I look at the Denver Broncos in comparison to the other teams, and I really like what the Chargers got. I really like the offensive just weaponry that the Las Vegas Raiders have. I think that the Raiders are going to just be a very explosive team offensively. Derek Carr is a quarterback that is a Hall of Famer, a guy that can lead the charge, a guy that is excellent in comeback win situations. And I just think in this AFC, it's going to be like whoever gets the ball last is going to be the team that ends up winning the games. And Russell Wilson is a guy that can lead a charge, can drive down the field, go get a big win. But can he rely on his offensive weapons the way a Derek Carr can, or the way that a Justin Herbert can, or the way that a Patrick Mahomes can? Now, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, like I said, they've dominated this division, but at some point you got to imagine they're going to take a slight step back. I'm not saying that they're not going to make the playoffs or anything like that, but to be that just dominant force we have seen the last several years, just time wears on you. And all the games and all the wear and tear and just everything. We've seen it countless times. I mean, even the Patriots during their dynasty runs, there were years that they didn't make the playoffs. There were years that, they were eliminated immediately. Like all of those things, because it takes your toll. Other teams get better. Other teams just, you get the luck of the coin flip, right? Stuff like that. Like what would have happened to the Chiefs if the Bills would have won that coin toss, right? Like that's another big question. And I look at this Denver roster, and I love their roster, but I love their roster like 3 to 5 years from now. I think 3 to 5 years from now, this team could be something else. And as great as Russell Wilson is, I just personally don't think he's the guy that can that can carry a franchise on his back anymore. I think he's shown signs of regression, not heavily. He's still a top quarterback in this league. I'd still take him over a lot of the quarterbacks in this league. But I do think that guy that can, win you, that you have Russell Wilson, you're winning at least 9 games with him. And so all you need is pieces around him to win another 1 or 2 games. I think those days are over. I think he's a quarterback that by himself could get you probably 6 to 7 wins. And so now you need another 3 or 4 wins to even get into the playoffs. And you're in just arguably the toughest division I've ever seen as far as front to back. I mean, there have been some tough divisions. There have been like 2 or 3 teams that you're like, wow, all 3 of these teams are really good. But all 3 of these teams, like I said, or all 4 of these teams can easily be a deep run playoff team, maybe even a Super Bowl, and wouldn't be shocked at all if they won a Super Bowl. I mean, you look at the Raiders' just offensive weaponry, and you look at just everything that team has, and you're like, okay, if they were there, makes sense. They look like a contending roster. You look at, obviously, the Chiefs. The Chiefs are a team that's been there on several occasions, right, and just been dominant the last few years. And so, obviously, you're like, they could be there. If they were in the Super Bowl again, wouldn't shock you. And then the Chargers are the one team that's kind of underwhelmed, right? They're the team that every year they're supposed to make the playoffs and haven't yet. And this year they went and finally got the pieces, personally, I think, to at least all but guarantee the playoffs as long as health and those kind of factors are key. Obviously, schedule and stuff like that plays a big role, plays a big factor. But the Chargers, they don't have a ridiculously hard schedule. And I just think that I look at the Raiders, I look at the Chiefs, and I look at the Chargers. And to me, Denver or Oakland are likely going to be the ones out looking in. There is a big part of me that wants to take the Chiefs just because, like I said, just the wear and tear, all of the extra games that they have played, all of just losing Tyreek Hill, I think is going to hurt more than people think. Obviously, they're going to, switch up their offense a little bit, but Tyreek Hill gave the Chiefs something that no other team really had, which was all but a guaranteed big play touchdown game in and game out. I mean, it did. I mean, when you're talking the Chiefs, every game there was that Patrick Mahomes closes his eyes, throws it 75 yards, and Tyreek Hill just catches it, and he's gone, and you got an easy touchdown. It was those explosive plays. And I don't know how many explosive plays Denver's going to have compared to, say, a Las Vegas Raiders or a LA Chargers now. Things like that. I just the Chiefs, I think, are going to struggle with those huge plays, and I think that Denver's going to struggle with those huge plays. But I think Patrick Mahomes is just such a great quarterback. I can't root against him. So it boils down for me to the Raiders and the Broncos, because I think the Raiders showed moments last season of just really great defense. Now they got Josh McDaniels and stuff, so he's going to have new defensive schemes. He's going to have new offensive schemes, all of that. But I still think their defense kind of lacks. And I do think Denver, you can make an argument, has a almost underrated defense at this point. I think that they are a lot better defensively than people give them credit for. And I think that could be the difference when it comes down to Denver and the Raiders kind of competing for that playoff position, that playoff spot. I just think that, when it comes to the 4 teams, I think it boils down to Denver and the Raiders. But at the same time, it wouldn't shock me if either of them won the division, right? I mean, again, Denver has a great defense. They have a quarterback in Russell Wilson. They have everything that they need to be effective, to be dominant, to win a bunch of games. Again, you look at their schedule, it's not a crazy, tough, challenging schedule. It's, they have a little tougher spots, especially towards the middle, heart of the season. But I don't know. I look at the Broncos and I just go, you know what? Like, this is going to be an either-or team. This team, I think, is going to be really good, really explosive, really grindy, or they're going to be that, like, they're just average. Like, they're good, but they're not great. If that makes sense. But, as always, I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think of the Denver Broncos? Do you like the roster? Do you not? Do you think that they're the team that is going to be on the outside looking in this just ridiculously stacked AFC division? Or do you think that, no, I mean, they could be in the Super Bowl. They're a team that I think could win the division. It just, I don't know. I just look at their roster, like I said, compared to the Raiders, the Chiefs, and the Chargers. And I just like the other three teams' roster more from an experience standpoint, to an explosive standpoint, to talent standpoint. I do think the Broncos have talent. I just think that they're still a couple years away. I think if this team got Russell Wilson, if this team was put together 3 years earlier, and Judy was 3 years older, and a lot of these guys were more experienced and a little bit older, I think that Denver could make some noise with Russell Wilson. But obviously, can't manipulate time that way. But however you feel about it, love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.